Hey, welcome World Entertainment, and let's talk about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and the problem with Queen Romanda. This video will contain some spoilers because we kind of have to, because the events of Wakanda Forever are in fact all Queen Romanda's fault, and so are some of the events from the first movie. So let's break it down, shall we? So the movie is about vibranium. More specifically, Queen Romanda has refused to share vibranium with the world, which led the world to come up with alternative ways of finding vibranium, which ends up being found in the underworld city, under the sea, that is, of Neymar's home. So, the movie begins with, of course, Queen Romanda at a UN Senate meeting where the world is telling Queen Romanda, hey, you never fulfilled your promises, the things your son promised and everything. You've shared none of your technology and you've shared none of the vibranium with the world. And her response to that was that it's not that she doesn't trust the vibranium being out there, she doesn't trust the world with it. Like these people. That in turn led, while that was happening, the world had to, because she didn't give them vibranium, even a small bit, they went, sought out what means to find it. What does that mean? That means they invented a bit of technology that could find vibranium, which they do under the sea, but it's Neymar's city. So he kills them. Neymar then appears in Wakanda and asks, quite reasonably, Queen Romanda, hey, look, you refused to share everything with the world the way you did. Promise that you would. Problem is, because you haven't, they came up with a device that could find it and found it in our city. We've been hidden, we don't want to be found. So here's the deal. We'd like you to help us find the person who made this. Get them, give them to me, and we'll get rid of this technology and we'll all live in peace. And Queen Romanda refuses. Which leads then to them having to find who did create it. Who created it? The stunning and brave Riri Williams, Ironheart. How and why did she invent a vibranium detector? She invented it and built it in 2 months for a school project because her professor told her there's no way she'd be able to do it. If you think that was stunning and brave, wait till you get this. The very first piece of technology she ever made was when she was 3 years old. Yeah. So anyway, this leads to Neymar's people having to intervene when Shiri and Okayu find Riri and are trying to bring her back to Wakanda, which leads to Shiri being taken to Neymar because she asked to be taken to see him. And the only reason she was in Boston is because the Queen Romanda agreed to allow her to go. We then get Okayu pleading with the Queen to allow her to try and find Shiri and to redeem herself. and to fix the mistake of letting her go. To which the Queen responds, no, that she failed, and how they all stood by Killmonger when he took the throne. So she's lost everything. And essentially, two cities go to war. That's a quick breakdown of the movie. How is this Romanda's fault? Well, let's get into it, shall we? She refused to share some vibranium with the world, something her son agreed to do with the world. Why does she refuse? She refuses because she doesn't trust the world. Okay, because she refused to share vibranium, it led the world to come up with alternatives, which meant they got someone to come up with the idea of a vibranium detector, which they did, and they found vibranium that was not in Wakanda. Which means her refusal to give out some vibranium led directly to the world finding Namor. This in turn then, when Namor appears to them and asks, hey, this is your fault. You made them be able to come up with this technology and end up finding us. You need to fix this. They refuse. She refuses. Which then leads to Okayu being sent on the mission to find Riri Williams. To which Okayu says, hey, maybe Shiri should come with me. It could be good for her. Queen Romanda agrees. She agreed. They go, they find Riri, they get under attack from Namor's people. The Talkinians, I think they're called. Okayu gets knocked out into the water, and Shiri says, I demand to be taken to Namor. Ergo, her daughter, Queen Romanda's daughter being taken is directly her fault for agreeing to allow the princess to go to Boston. What does this lead to then? This leads to the flooding of Wakanda, where you have to assume hundreds of people died from the attack from Namor's people. Why does he attack? Because he told Queen Romanda, if you don't help us, I will come back with my armies and you will not be able to win. He delivers on that promise. So had she helped him, which is funny because she still sends people to go and find this scientist, but had she just helped him directly, her city, her country would not be attacked by Namor. To which he does attack, and hundreds of them are killed. Directly her fault again. She also fires and basically banishes Okayu for allowing Shiri to be taken. Okay, problem is here, that is directly your fault for allowing your daughter to go on this mission in the first place. And that's the thing, it was a mission. She also then refuses to allow Okayu to try and redeem herself and to give her life for her country by trying to find and retrieve Shiri. The Queen refuses and then proceeds to tell Okayu how she stood by Killmonger when he took the throne and how all this Senate or council, whatever it is, all stood by Killmonger. Problem is, that's also her fault because it's her family's rules that she did not change in any shape or form, especially when her husband, the original king, died. She kept the rule that if someone wins in hand-to-hand combat, they are given the throne. Killmonger won in hand-to-hand combat and rightfully became king. The problem is, she even stood by the decision for a bit until half her people got in trouble and had no choice but to stand by Killmonger. Why? Because her and her daughter ran away and went hiding. That's right, so she's complaining to these people, hey, you stood by Killmonger, when in fact, she ran away, left them no choice. And the irony is, they stood by, not happily, very against it, but that was the rules that Queen Romanda's family put in place. And had they turned against Killmonger and walked away, what would the reaction be then? Probably, well, you turned your back on the rightful heir, the person who won the right to sit on that throne. That's treason. So, you have that. Also, her fault. Her family put in the rules that stated how he could get the throne. He did, and she ran away. Oh yes. So you see what I mean? The entire events of the movie of Wakanda Forever, everything that happens is Queen Romanda's fault. Had she shared bits of the technology and some vibranium, the world wouldn't have to look for alternatives. Virgo, they wouldn't have got someone to create a vibranium detector, and they wouldn't have found Namor. Which then in turn wouldn't have made Namor come to the surface and request help from Queen Romanda. Which then in turn wouldn't have led to Shuri being taken and Namor invading and killing hundreds in Wakanda. As for Killmonger, had she have changed the rules after the death of her husband to say, no, just who's ever in the line of succession takes it, rather than, no, you're going to fight hand-to-hand combat, and if you win, you get the throne, Killmonger would never have taken the throne. It's very easy to overlook all this stuff, really, isn't it? When you actually break it down, you realise, oh, it's pretty much all her fault. All she had to do was give the world a bit of vibranium, and all of it could have been avoided. But anyway, that's the problem with Queen Romanda. It's pretty much her fault. And with that, I'll leave it there for this one. Cheers. I'll catch you in the next one.